in 5.
Hello everyone. I believe we're live, aren't we? Welcome to a bit of an unexpected filler, but a fun filler nonetheless, as we're going to be playing some Evoland today. Now, I am going to do one quick check just to make sure that I've got everything set up. I will say in advance, I am super rusty at this. I haven't actually touched the game since like August, so don't expect too much. But it should be fun all the same. So welcome everybody. Quick introduction and then we'll get started. For those that don't know me, hi, my name's Crrool. I've been involved with this event for a while, I suppose. So that's a thing. I guess I'm as one of the organizers. I've played a pretty big role there. I speedrun, among other things, Evoland, although I'm mostly a Pokemon speedrunner, which you'll see me be the host for tomorrow. And I think that's enough introductions. With that,
Before we go, we do have a donation coming in
go ahead.
from Wired Wiki saying, let's make it €5 per death, 10 in total. Donation goes to naming the flying Pokemon Helmacopter. And that's that.
Okay, then let me give you guys a countdown, starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So, yeah, Evoland. What shall I say about this game? You're not going to hear a lot of music. That is normal. You see, this game works a little bit different from what you're probably used to from your usual RPGs. But the idea is pretty simple. In this RPG, instead of getting chests to, make our characters stronger, give us powerful equipment and all that, we get chests that upgrade the game around us. I'm gonna get one extra chest here that we normally don't get, which is the save point. And with every chest that I get little things like the enemies that appear, better graphics, but also things like the music. Some of them we can skip, some of them we can't. A very big one to the left here, that's the story. We're never going to pick up the story because we don't really care about the story. It's slow. I do have to at this point we haven't unlocked health yet, so I have to be very careful because one hit means I die. That's why you'll see me be very careful around a lot of these enemies. We're taking it slow, but we're taking it safe here. But that should just about do. We've got one more set of enemies here, and then we're already through the first area. The game is essentially split up in a few parts. Early on, we're going to basically sort of get an introduction. That was this part. And now we're going to go into the overworld. Now, there's a few different RPG styles that are used. We've got turn-based battle, like we're going to get here. We've got more of an action RPG style like we had in the previous area, and that varies a lot from place to place. Some parts will go so far as to just give us completely different methods of playing almost. Before we can progress though, we have to do a couple of turn-based battles here. There are 4 enemies in total that I need to kill. Ideally we get that spread across 2 battles. That isn't happening today. So maybe we'll get lucky, we'll get it in 3. That is really unlucky, so we're going to need 4 battles. That's about the worst possible outcome we can get. The reason for that is there are, every enemy gives us 50 gil. We don't get experience yet because we haven't unlocked experience yet. That's a chest later on in the game. But we do need the money, and we need that in order to buy a better sword and better armor, which I need in order to be able to progress through the rest of the game. Okay, next location, this is a pretty easy one. There's 4 enemies here that we need to kill. That'll spawn a new chest, and I need that chest because that chest has basically the entire next village in it. Unfortunately, their pattern isn't great right now. They're kind of spreading out all over the place. Over here, there we go. And that gets us the village. We're also going to unlock the NPCs. We're not actually going to care for them much, but we do unlock the NPCs. And then we're going to get this item, the seed. Early on in the game kind of pretend, at least if you try to talk to NPCs, they're like, you're still a child, we're not going to talk to you. That seed is what made us grow taller. So now we can pretend to be an adult. We do need this chest. This unlocks us entering buildings. Without it, we can't actually go anywhere and therefore never get the equipment that I need. And then over here, we're going to unlock the shopkeeper, and there's 50 more in that barrel, which we need in order to do the rest of the shopping. I need the copper armor, the longsword. With that equipped, we can now move on to the next big boss. Now, we are actually going to get another character in our party in a little bit. We don't just have to work with Clink. Oh, right, I actually haven't introduced the main protagonists yet. This is Clink, not to be confused with Cloud or Link. Right here, we're going to meet Aeris, not to be confused with Aerith. You'll see a lot of things in this game are references to other games. That's kind of one of the cool things about Evoland. There are a lot of references to other games.
So let me know when there's some places for donations.
Go ahead.
All right, cool, because we have 3 donations coming on in, one of which is Ras saying, pretty sure Xira died 5 times. We're bad at counting. And then there's Xira himself saying he's only managed to die 2 times. I upped my amount to 10 euros for charity. Thanks for having me, BSG. Thanks for everyone in chat for forcing me to do this seed. I had a lot of fun. Hope you did as well. Also, Telmacopter for flyer name. And then a donation of my own since I decided to chime in with the rest of the guys.
Alright, so by now we've unlocked the enemies in this dungeon, but that chest just now, that's where we get the experience points. And that's one of the biggest things we can get in this run. We're not actually going to have to kill a lot of enemies here, even at this point. And even later on, we're not necessarily going to be using the experience points much. Like, we're not going to grind any levels. But there is one boss fight coming up from which we are going to get some experience. I think it gets us to like level 3 or something. And after that, there's like towards the end, there's going to be another similar boss for which I kind of need that experience. And that's the main reason why I decided to pick it up. Now there's a small glitch we can do in this next part. I hope I can get it. There we go. You may not have noticed it, but the moment that I step on that pressure plate, you're supposed to be stuck in place until the animation is over. However, because I entered the menu the moment that I stepped on top of that pressure plate, it actually kind of overrode that, and I could move during it. That's a glitch you'll be seeing me use quite a lot in this next part of the game. I took a safety heal. That's just for safety. I really shouldn't need it, but shouldn't is a big word here. And then here's the crystal. This is Kefka's ghost, not to be confused with Kefka, the final boss from Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, we can just attack. I should have probably defended. Okay, we're gonna heal with Aeris here. Let's do that. Now, this is kind of a boss that shows you sort of how, like, I guess what in a lot of games is like the attack bar is. In a lot of Final Fantasy like RPGs, you have to wait at some point in the fight for that phase to be over before you can attack again, and it's kind of for them to introduce that you need to wait sometimes. If I were to try and attack him while he's in his ghost phase, he wouldn't actually... I wouldn't actually be able to hit him. I need to wait here until he goes back to his other phase, and that's when I can attack again, and that's the final... That's the boss. And now that we've defeated the boss, we unlock 3D mode. And this is where we're going to get quite a few good things. We're going to improve the music a little bit. I don't actually have to get that, but it's good music. But this is the biggest one. Life hearts. From this point on, I do not die anymore if I get hit once by an enemy. And that is such a peace of mind right here. There are still moments where we're going to possibly take a lot of damage and things can definitely still get scary, but the worst part is now over. The downside, however, is oh right, that was that one. I got that one confused with a different one. Like I said, it's been like 9 months since I've played this or something. There is one more really big one that I need to get, which is enemies actually being able to drop hearts again. We're going to be able to encounter that chest relatively soon, and from there on, not only can I, or do I not get one shot anymore, but I can actually restore health as well. The chest immediately after that is a really important one for me to not pick up. Even in 100%, that's one of the last chests we pick up. I guess I haven't really explained it yet, but there is also a 100% category, and basically what 100% is not only beat the game, but also pick up every chest, get every achievement, and then beat the game. Kind of a fun one, honestly. There's really one grindy achievement that keeps a lot of people away from 100%, which is collecting, I think it's 50,000 gil, which is a lot of money in this game. That takes like 20 minutes. It's really annoying. All of the other ones are really doable though. We needed to get the breakable pot chest because there will be a pot later on that we have to break in order to progress. This is, by the way, one of the most execution-heavy dungeons. There's a lot of minor glitches in this particular dungeon that we have to pay attention to. And then towards the end of the dungeon, there's going to be a death warp that we're going to do. Okay, so this is a fun one. There's a really small glitch here that we can do. Need to kill both of these bats. We're going to kill the last one. Ah, it's too late. That's unfortunate. I tried to get into the menu just after I killed him, which would have allowed me to save about, I want to say about 4 seconds here. It's pretty difficult, but you can get pretty consistent at it with a little bit of practice. Skeletons we're just going to ignore. And then here we have a small cutscene that we need to deal with. Again, I can move after triggering the pressure plate because of going into the menu like that. And we're going to unlock a bit of a maze here. Now, this maze isn't particularly difficult once you know where to go. There's only so many paths that you can take. At the end of the maze, there's a star, and in 100% I would need to collect that star, because there's, I think, 30 stars and 23 cards you can collect, or the other way around. But that's not a thing for any percent. In fact, it's kind of important for a glitch towards the end of the run that we get, that we never get more than 5 cards. If we get more than 5 cards, I can't do that glitch, and that'll lose us a significant amount of time. Okay, we're gonna open up this chest. That unlocks the pushable blocks. Okay, there's actually a fight we can skip in a moment, and I'm going to try to skip it. I get 2 chances to make it work. We really want to get it first try, because the second try does lose me some time. Okay, should be good. So the gate opens here, but now I can actually move while still in my menu. And this causes some weird things to happen, because now if I go down here, there's a story trigger. And we can just pass it. In that room, several enemies would spawn that I would need to kill first, but we've already passed it. It's not a big deal. Okay, this guy is always RNG. We need to knock him down that hole down there. And he can cooperate and it can go pretty quickly, or he can keep moving up like that and it can go really slowly. That was quite unlucky. So the first pressure plate you press always spawns enemies. The second one always unlocks the gate here. Now this part's always annoying. It's very important that I do not drop down the third hole there. If I drop down the third one, we would get set back to almost the start of the dungeon. That would be very, very bad. I got knocked off of it. That's fine. These things are like the worst. You can probably start to see why. That was absolutely terrible. Okay, it counted. At least we got through it. That was really bad. Not just on RNG with the mages, but also just the execution was really poor. That's okay. That's a small thing. We can still make it work. I do have to try and not take too much more damage because I need a little bit of health for a death warp coming up. So I can't actually take this save either. Important thing is, as long as we're still, like at this point especially, as long as we're still alive and as long as I still have enough health, it doesn't really matter if certain parts of the cave go a little bit poorly. And we're at 1.5 hearts, which is actually a really decent amount. Okay, we made it to the big monster room. So this room, it's supposed to be one of those rooms where you have to kill every enemy, and once you do, the gate opens up and you can progress to the next part of the dungeon. The thing is, I can pick up this chest right here. This gives me the boss key. And that's right at the start of the dungeon as well. And what we can do right here is I can actually intentionally start taking damage. And by intentionally taking enough damage here, I will die. We'll go game over. That's fine. We'll continue the game, and we're right back where we started. If I go to the left here, we can actually unlock the boss door and start with the next boss fight. Now, this boss is probably one of the more tricky bosses in the game in 100%, yet one of the easier bosses in any percent. In 100%, you have to finish this boss fight at full health, and that makes him incredibly dangerous. In any percent, it doesn't matter if I take damage. I don't care one way or another. He can do 3 attacks. He can either charge at the wall, which is what we want him to do. He can spawn bats or he can spawn fireballs. Every time he charges at the wall, and he actually hits the wall, it gives me a chance to hit him back, which deals half a heart worth of damage. Now, if he spawns bats or fireballs, there's nothing I can do with that. Like that, I just have to dodge those. That was a good fight. We're actually going to get the dodgeball achievement even because I managed to do it damageless. I'm gonna go up here. We're gonna get this chest. The legendary sword. We're also gonna kind of glitch out the game. Don't worry. This is normal. And now we're coming up on the biggest glitch in the game. This chest right here has all of the overworld encounters. Yeah, we're gonna just ignore it. There is exactly 1 line of pixels in which I can go through that chest without actually triggering it. And that causes all of the overworld enemies from here on to just not spawn. And now we have a little bit of side questing to do. The loading screens here, they're intentional. There is an item in the game called fast disk speed, which actually cuts out those loading times. It's a bit of a reference to the old PlayStation era, I believe. We also get to meet Sid. Sid right here, he... oh, there's a bunch of stories, something about bombs, and... essentially there's this character, Zephyros, who's been kind of making everybody's life hell. And we're gonna stop him. But in order to get to him, we need 2 pieces of an amulet. 2 halves of the amulet, and we're gonna have to collect those 2 pieces. For one of those, I'm gonna need the bombs. For the other, well, it doesn't really matter. We don't really, I don't think we really need any items for it per se. We're gonna unlock some NPCs. Is it this guy that I needed to talk to? I think so. Yeah, this game, as you'll probably already been able to tell, takes heavy inspiration from a lot of other RPGs. Specifically, the ones that they mention in the credits at least, I think are Final Fantasy, Legend of Zelda, Dragon Quest, and Diablo. There's actually a second Evoland game as well, which goes above and beyond compared to this one. Evoland 2 has almost every game genre you can imagine in a single game. There is turn-based RPGs, there's platforming, there is how do you call it? Turn-based strategy, shooters. Like it's a whole mash of game genres, even puzzle games. I think racing is like one of the only genres not included. It's quite something.
I believe I've seen a shoot 'em up style segment as well.
Yep, there is. That's kind of the shooter part that I was referring to.
Right, gotcha.
Okay, so I did miss one trigger. I think I know which one. I'm just trying to think which part I missed, because I need to get the bombs, and from there on the rest of the run's pretty easy. This is really where that part of I haven't actually played this game in nearly 9 months kind of comes in. So we're going to lose a little bit of time here, which is going to kind of be a thing. I do hope I can make it under 40 at least. That's what we're going for. There's a DDR segment. Yep. Saw somebody mention that. That's also in Evoland 2. It's honestly, it's such a blast. Okay, there's the nurse. We've talked to the nurse afterwards. Who did I miss? I am so confused which one I missed. Just gonna go back and forth a little bit, make sure that we talk to everyone. Yeah, okay. Somewhere down the line I missed talking to someone, and I'm not really sure who. Or I probably didn't so much forget to talk to somebody, but rather talk to people in the wrong order. I think that's the main issue. I'm a little bit worried about that. The guard at the entrance, that's the one I forgot. Yep, I see. Thank you, Hopkinanam. That's, yeah, I forgot to talk to the guard at the start, and that's, okay, so we're gonna probably lose, I want to say probably about 2 minutes at least. That's a big thing. Estimate's gonna be tight, but we'll see how things go. So far, we at least haven't had any deaths yet, so I'm hoping that with this, we'll still be able to make it worthwhile. But yeah, after this, we've got 2 more dungeons left before we can really, because we need to start collecting those 2 pieces of the amulet.
In the meantime, we do have a donation.
Go ahead.
By Dunkty123 with €5 saying hello, and then a wavy hand emoji.
Hello.
To you too.
Okay, we got the bombs, and now that we have the bombs, we can actually move on. So down here, there is another dungeon, or well, I say dungeon, but it's really more so a forest than anything else. And there's a lot of minor glitches we can do in this part. First, we're gonna switch to the bombs. Go over this part, because this part really uses the 2D versus 3D element a lot. Every time I hit this crystal, I can switch between the 2D parts of the game and the 3D parts. And some of the 2D parts, or some of the the little trees, I can only pass in 2D, whereas these pressure plates, the black plates that we cross, we can only pass those in 3D. The game kind of uses that to try and give you some puzzles, and we're going to skip a whole lot of those puzzles. Okay, let me try and do this room properly at least. these bats can be a nightmare because if I fall down at any point, that means we get sent back to the start of the dungeon, or start of the room. And there's, like, these bats can knock you in and lose you so much time. Especially after me kind of messing up a little bit in previous town. I'm gonna try not to lose more. But yeah, we get the bow here. I can kind of just lava boost my way out of here. I know here at BSG we love to do ourselves some lava boosts, so... Okay, we can also... See, this is how we skip these puzzles. Essentially, I use the bow to shoot at a crystal like that. And once we have... nope, okay. I think that works. Ah, I was afraid of that. I was slightly too late because of the bat trolling me. Okay, that should do. So by opening up the menu after we've kind of already triggered the thing, like the time crystal, we can then start moving even when we're not really supposed to be able to start moving yet. And that can sometimes help us skip a few puzzles. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna make sure we have as much health going into this next part as possible, because health really makes a difference in this next little bit. No, I need to sword a little bit longer. And then we're gonna torch the other one, get rid of a small tree there, and then there is another crystal that we just or another torch spot that we kind of just lit up. Now there's supposed to be this big torch puzzle here, which is actually kind of fun, but we have a really nice little workaround for it that's much faster. I didn't get it. Why did that not work? This is just everything going wrong today. Oh well. Does this work? Should. Okay, that did work at least, so I didn't have to time travel. Okay, now for that torch puzzle that I was mentioning we were going to try to skip. There we go, that's how you can skip it. There's one line of pixels through which the arrow can go, and it'll still hit the other torch. So that counts. I'm actually going to stay in the menu for a little bit here. Try and work my way through this. Okay, there's a chest here I can pick up. Now the skeletons here, they die to one arrow, so we're going to try to just use arrows. Hope that still worked. Okay, that still worked. The mages here, they die to one bomb. And when I go into the menu, the hitbox for the mage actually stays in place. So I can use that to make killing them quite a bit easier. The amulet piece, we're leaving it behind, but we're not actually leaving it behind, don't worry. We actually did pick it up. It does count. Okay, I'm gonna need to get to the sword and try and conserve some health here. It's kind of important that I keep my health as high as possible over this next part, because we're gonna probably die. That's okay. That's a death that I can usually work with. Anyway, that's the first amulet piece done. Now we can start working towards the second amulet piece. And speaking of, Killer, can you check what the timer is at right now for me?
We're at almost 28 minutes.
Okay. It's gonna be real tight. But it's fine. Even if everything goes wrong, honestly, at most, we shouldn't go over by more than like 2 minutes, so... So this is where we set up text box walking, which is yet another small glitch I can do. Because we have fewer than 5 cards, that guy won't actually challenge me. Ah, I didn't get it. Okay. I didn't get it there. Afterwards I can talk to the nurse. And we can do more text box walking. So much so that I can get the text boxes from the nurse and bring them into the next dungeon. Okay, there we go. See, now I've got this text box, and we're just gonna keep the text box with us. Now, the reason I want this is this text box gives us a heal and a save that we can use at any point in the dungeon. The problem is, every time I hit attack, it progresses to the next text box, so I can't actually attack much. We're gonna get a character selection screen here. We're gonna go with Kairos because she is much better at dealing with enemies here. Okay, there's the heal. Try to get through this. Problem is right now I can't actually see how... Okay, there we go. Now I can see how high my health is. I would have liked it if my health had been a little bit higher, but this is an amount of health I can work with. Most of the chests that we're skipping here, they just have visual things, like upgrades to the game. But since we don't really need visual upgrades in this game, I mean, it's a speedrun, we don't really care about them. We're gonna ignore them as much as we can. One important side note, if I save the game too close to a wall here, it is actually possible for me to get soft locked. So that's something I need to constantly be aware of as well. Okay, we just saved the game. I'm just gonna die there. That's fine. And now we can just progress again. Okay, there we go. Just needed a little bit of room for movement. Go down here. There are still some enemies down here, but we can just kind of ignore all of them. The only thing we really need to fight here is the boss. The mages here, though, they do a lot of damage, so I'm kind of just going to try and take care of those. Oh boy, we are stupidly low on health. This is bad. Okay. I'm gonna just grab these health drops. I don't need that high health for the boss, but I do need some health. Because we can kind of cheese this boss, but we can't completely get his damage output to 0. So essentially what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to hide behind these stone, like these tombstones. And the idea is that way his fireballs don't actually hit me, so his only attacks that hit me are his slashing attacks. And they don't actually deal that much damage. We've already killed the enemies up, so I just need to have a little bit of health left by the end of this fight. Okay, that's actually good. So I can kind of try and grab these health drops, make sure we don't die. And there we go, that's the boss. Okay, 2 more fights left. We have now completed basically the last dungeon. We have one more, we've got 2 more boss fights, and both of those are kind of just we go to the boss, we fight the boss, we move on. So I'm going to pick up this chest, that's the second piece of the amulet, and that immediately spawns a portal back. Now that we have it, I'm going to quickly buy a bunch of potions here. That's to speed up this next fight by a little bit. It makes this next fight a little bit safer, but mostly significantly more consistent. Just gonna move on, and then now we can combine these 2 pieces of the amulet to enter the tower on the right here. I forget what the tower is called. And that's where the big boss of the game is at, Sephiroth. Not to be confused with Sephiroth. and earlier on I mentioned that we actually needed to get some extra experience to get those 2 level ups because there was still going to be a turn-based fight. This is that turn-based fight. Now the idea of this fight is pretty straightforward. We need to deal, I believe it's 200 damage for him to go into his second phase. And then once he's in his second phase, from there, well, you'll see. But it's kind of important that we just start dealing damage. I'm gonna use Clink as much as possible to heal, because on average, Kyrus does slightly more damage. That just might help us just barely push over that 200 limit at some point. By the time we actually hit 200 though, I want to have my health preferably not be full. Kyrus, it doesn't really matter, but with Clink I'd prefer not to have it at full health. That's kind of a thing we need to pay attention to. So these are all kind of little things that I have to juggle as we do these fights. And I'm gonna, by the way, Killer, just so you know, I'm gonna ask by the end of this fight again what the timer is at.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, 18 damage there. That was a really good hit. Unfortunately, we got the 6. I have to heal Kyrus. She can get 2-shot at 36. I think a high roll can even kill her in 1 hit, and that would be really bad. Okay, this is perfect health. If we can now get him under the amount, that would be great. Okay, we got it. We're now entering phase 2. In phase 2, I kind of just have to attack for a little bit, and he's going to charge up his Kamehameha wave. Because Zephyros can do the Kamehameha in this game. That's a thing. Perfect. We're supposed to die hit there. That's scripted. We need that before we can actually go into phase 3. So Zephyros here, he's going to kill Kyrus. And yeah, she's dead. Like, very, very dead right here. There's this very emotional cutscene here, but we're gonna just kind of skip through it. As you can see, we didn't actually get to see much of that. And that awakens Clink's true powers. And this unlocks his one ability, Babamut. And Babamut is actually a really useful move. It deals exactly the amount of damage that the enemy still has in health. But we can only use it once every couple of minutes. However, for this run, we're only going to need to use it once. So, yeah, we just use that, and that's the entirety of phase 3. 756 damage. Zephyros here is going to leave, and he says he's going to go to the mana tree to restore his health. And with that, we only have one more fight left, and I'm going to ask you again what the timer is at right now.
We're at 36.5.
Okay, yeah. Should be... maybe I don't know how long this next fight is, though. Like I said, it's going to be really tight, which honestly, considering how badly I messed up the town, I'm still kind of glad that we are very close to the 40-minute mark. So we're about to get the airship, which will allow us to go to the mana tree, and that's where we get to fight Zephyros for the second time. This time it's not going to be a turn-based battle, but rather an action, like a more action battle. And again, the fight is going to consist of 3 phases, and I'll explain them once we get there, like as we go through them. If you have anything to talk about, Killer, you've got about 20 seconds, and then we're going to do the last part of the game.
Very well, then I will quickly mention that there's another wonderful little event in the UK called the UKSG, which is similar to BSG, and it's held in Glasgow 4 times a year, benefiting young minds.
Okay, so we're going to leave the town here. We just got the airship, and with that airship, we can now pretty much fly across the world. This is really where, in 100%, basically the entire map opens up. But this right here, this is the mana tree. Gonna get out, and here we go. Time for the final boss. Just to say that is after we close the next the last text box after the 3rd phase. I'll call it out when it happens, but it'll be coming up pretty soon. So if this is phase, so we're going to start with phase 1 here, which is where he has these hands that he's going to try and hit me with. We need to hit each hand 10 times. That's 2 on each hand so far. We can very consistently get 2 hits. Done perfectly, it is possible to get 3 hits in a single round. Usually I just go for 2, which unless you get a lot of 3 hits, it doesn't really matter. Unless you can't get a 2 hit, in which case a 3 hit can kind of be a lifesaver. We should be almost done with phase 1. Okay, phase 2 is a pretty RNG heavy one. He's going to do a random amount of those fire beams that I need to hit him, and he will kind of spit out this orb which I need to hit. But sometimes the angle is in such a way that it's really hard for me to hit it in time. And then sometimes it's nearby and I can get 2 hits off like that. 3, 4. Okay, hopefully still buys me enough time. Okay, still got 1 hit. 2, 3, 4. I might not be able to get that. Nah, I was afraid of that. Oh, come on. We're getting pretty unlucky with this. Okay, that's phase 2. We're now going to go into phase 3, which is very similar to the Aghanim fights from the last game. Except here, it's the blue balls that we can redirect, and we can't redirect the usual ones. We need to hit 4 times. Once we have 4 hits in, that's like shortly after will be when time is. Come on, we need blue balls there. There we go. But unfortunately, the angle was off. That's unlucky. Oh, come on. This is going about as poorly as they could. Okay, that's 1. Why was that a miss? That shouldn't have been a miss. 2. Three. Okay, get ready on time. If we can get a blue ball, that is. Okay, here we go. And time. Okay, I don't think that was sub 40, but whatever.
Nope.
That's Evoland.
41 now.
Sorry?
41 and a half.
Okay. That's a little unfortunate, but considering the rust and my mess ups halfway through, I guess I'll have to accept that.
Still pretty good.
That is Evoland. Like I said, fantastic little indie game. Evoland 2 is one I strongly recommend, but I'm already overestimate, so I'm not going to keep you guys waiting any longer. I believe we're moving on to Fallout next, if I'm not...
Yes, we are.
Nice.
And also, that is that for my hosting for the event. So enjoy whatever the next...